Check, check, check. Test. One, two, three. All right, we are live.
Oh, hello.
Hello, everyone. How's it going? Welcome to Cinemana,
Cinemana,
episode 7.
777.
All right.
Just pulling up the prep sheet here. Guardians of the
You did-
Galaxy Hall. I don't know what any of this is. He wrote this by himself.
I wrote all of this by yourself without your counsel.
By myself?
Yeah, by yourself without without your counsel.
Yeah.
um, all right, so let's get into some industry news. All right,
Industry
and this is all some very very fresh stuff that I
Spooky edition.
yeah. Well, I guess spooky.
It's supposed to be spooky.
It's
We'll try to make it spooky.
We'll try to make it spooky. We'll talk about some Halloween stuff. We'll try to fit it in here.
That's what she said.
All right, so
Sorry.
you're starting off early, man.
Well,
All right, so
because I finished early.
God, here we go, man. You with the zingers already. All right, so here we go. Industry news. At least I have some news here.
I know this is great.
Yeah.
News is
So,
fun.
Guardians of the Galaxy, MCU at Marvel Studios rather, announced that they are going to have a Guardians of the Galaxy holiday special,
Ba-da-da.
which is weird. Very strange stuff. It doesn't involve James Gunn. So
Yeah, apparently he's done with the MCU.
He
for
is
at
done
least
with the
4
MCU.
years. What I read.
he is done with the MCU and is dedicated to DC now. So he has completely jumped ship, which I think is awesome because DC is way, way darker and can probably appreciate, some James Gunn type content and humor.
Oh yeah, he did
So-
pretty good with Suicide Squad.
He did great with Suicide Squad. So
Awesome with the big
yeah,
ass
man.
starfish.
yeah, and there is something down the rumor mill that he's going to do a sequel to that Suicide Squad.
I heard about that like when it came out. So
Yeah.
I assumed that was gonna happen.
Yeah,
It was
that'd be
a
great.
success,
So yeah, man. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, James Gunn doesn't have anything to do with this. So essentially, this is going to be a Disney Plus special. And they dropped some promotional stuff with Drax and Mantis. And essentially, they're going to be front and center in this special. And it's essentially them, attempting to carry out a Christmas good deed for Star-Lord. So something along the lines that involves kidnapping Kevin Bacon. I think this kind of has
the fuck?
something to do. This has something to do with Footloose and
Well,
it
I
being
mean, he thinks it's the greatest movie. Of all
the
time.
greatest movie of all time. So, and Kevin Bacon was in that movie.
Yeah.
So,
Will it be actually Kevin Bacon doing the voice?
but let's see, man. Let's see.
That
But
adds a whole new layer to like 7 Degrees of Kevin Bacon.
that's what
because,
it does, doesn't it? He's everywhere. So but yeah, I think that's pretty funny. Drax and Mantis are gonna present Star-Lord with a Christmas gift, and it's gonna be kidnapping Kevin Bacon. So yeah, sounds fun. But yeah, that's gonna be the Guardians of the Galaxy holiday special that should be dropping sometime late November, early December. And let's see what else they have here. Okay, so Michael Rucker, who played Yondu,
Mm.
in the Guardians of the Galaxy, the previous one, the Guardians of the Galaxy 2, where he played Michael Rucker, who played Yondu, supposedly has a part in this as well. So I'm not too sure if it's going to be a flashback or something, but his name is actually in the credits. And
Yeah.
he will be, participating with this. So seems interesting. Seems like a nice little fun little thing that Disney Plus is going to throw out there. They've been doing a lot of that now, with their kind of like, one shots, when they used to do the one shots, like after.
Well, they did that Groot series recently with the Groot shorts.
Right. Yeah. The Groot
They're like
shorts.
5 minutes.
Right. So little things like that. So they're
Disney's
taking
doing a lot of these shorts, like
Mhm.
the Tales of the Jedi that we'll talk about for a second.
Right. That's right. Yeah. Yeah. I didn't get to watch that. You did.
I haven't seen
Um,
any of it.
Huh?
I haven't seen any of it.
Oh, you haven't seen
No,
any
you
of it.
haven't?
No, I haven't seen none of it.
None of it.
Yeah. Yeah. None
Okay.
of it. I do know that it exists, but I haven't had any time to check it out.
Mm.
So, But yeah, so that's the Guardians of the Galaxy holiday special.
Holiday.
So that seems interesting. That seems pretty fun.
So it's November, December. It's no. That's pretty like soon, but
Nothing,
without a date.
nothing
Yeah.
specific, but yeah, they said late November, early December. So
Okay.
yeah.
They did have that Star Wars one, the animated holiday special. From
Which one was that?
It was recent. It was like within the last year or two. They did one for Star Wars.
With who?
It was the
Who's
Life
in it?
Day one, where they did.
But
But they did like it was kind of this on the same similar like.
They did that years
But that's
ago.
because like the Christmas season, that's when all that shit happens. Right? So
Yeah, I
that's-
remember that.
Life Day and all that happens around the same time as Christmas. So it's like, but this one was actually really cool. It was actually really well done, and I liked it. It's on Disney Plus.
Yeah?
It's the whole. I think
It's an animated one.
Yeah.
All right, I have to check. Oh, did they have the Wookiees in there?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
They had a bunch of like side characters too in there. It was,
I think I remember
it was like a mini
this.
redemption for the old shitty one.
I remember the old shitty one because that actually came on television, man, and it had
Yeah.
some decent
But
actors.
that was
in
also
it.
like the introduction to Boba Fett.
What do you mean
My
the
boy.
introduction of Boba
That was
Fett?
because that came up before Empire, and so he had never been introduced yet. So he's a minor character in the holiday special and shit.
No shit.
Yeah.
Really? Okay, I have to check the
I'm pretty
stats
sure,
on
like,
that.
because wasn't there an animated version too? Like, because they did like both.
They
Yeah.
did do
Because
both.
he's on a fucking bantha, and like he's like, I'm Bubba Fett. He's
yeah,
like,
but I thought that came out after.
no, it was before Empire. Yeah, so that was
Really?
just the
I'm gonna have to
first-
check the
yeah.
stats on that, man. I mean, of course, I wasn't around when it
Gotta
actually came.
check the stats.
I'm gonna have to check. I'm gonna have to check the stats because, of course, I saw all of this after the fact. Like I didn't see it when it actually happened live. But I saw that all after the fact. But I thought it came out after Empire. But okay, you might be right. That's interesting. That's the lame way to introduce Boba Fett. I gotta say.
Yeah.
But anyway, moving along. All right, so news stuff. Some trailers dropped this week.
Yeah.
All right, so first one I want to talk about is Ant-Man.
Ant-Man.
Quantumania. All right, so yeah, this is the first visuals that we're seeing on the Ant-Man sequel. Looks pretty interesting. Looks dope.
It looks pretty cool.
We are getting introduced to the big phase 6 or phase 5. The big bad guy for the next phase, for the next MCU phase, which is Kang the Conqueror, played by Jonathan Majors. There's also a cameo with Bill Murray.
Yeah, for like a split second.
For a
They're
split
like, hey, it's Bill
second
Murray.
in
He's here.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Which I mean, it's not bad. I mean, it kind of reminds me of when they introduced Jeff Goldblum.
Yeah.
Kind of like on the same
You
vein.
would have seen that they stuck with him because I guess a little controversy going around with Bill Murray right now.
What's that?
A lot of like onset allegations and shit going around about Bill Murray and
Is that
being
right?
abusive and like sexual shit.
No shit.
Yeah, something like that. It's going around.
Man.
More and more people are coming out. About it. Yeah.
Man.
It's not like
I hope they
crazy
don't
big
cut him
right
out.
now, so
Yeah.
but it's enough to like hear about it. But apparently, they're sticking with him for this movie. So
Okay. All right. Hopefully it's not like a big.
because he's doing a
big deal.
movie, I think production even like shut down on it or something with he's with Aziz Ansari's movie that's kind of they're in production for.
Yeah.
And I think that movie's in potential of like ending production.
Really, because of the scandal.
Yeah, all
that
the
is-
stuff with Bill Murray going on. So
No way.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh well, that sucks.
Yep. So
All right,
don't
man.
be creepy.
Yeah, don't be fucking creepy. Shit.
Maybe just a little creepy.
well, like that. There you go. That's I guess that
for yokes.
that doesn't
For
that
yokes-
doesn't cross the
yokes-
line.
Yokes and yaps.
Fuck, that sucks.
Yeah, I know. I don't know. But
Shit,
it's,
man.
obviously, it's like I don't know. We'll see. See what happens. There's not a lot going on in like the airwaves with like.
No, because I haven't seen anything. I haven't seen like any
I
talk or
think
anything
just
like
type
that.
Bill Murray up, like a bunch of shit will pop up.
Yeah. Okay.
Dude's almost like what? He's gonna be like.
Well, I hope he's-
135.
I hope he's not like
Oh, man, he's
like
not looking
Kevin
good.
Spacey because that's a whole.
No, I don't think it's like quite spacey levels.
Yeah, it's Spacey level.
He's not fucking chasing floating grocery bags.
Jeez, man.
Yeah, if you like, there's a bunch of shit.
Let's
So
see.
like, it's between like sexual assault allegations and like just being a strip like Chevy Chase dick on set to people. And,
Okay. Well, yeah, I
Yeah.
kind of get that. I
so
mean,
there's a mix of stuff going around, being abusive overall, just being a piece of shit.
yeah, that sucks, man.
yeah.
Because he seems like a pretty nice guy.
Well, they are actors.
Yes, No,
I don't really have
Chevy
any,
Chase syndrome.
any hand in it either way. So we'll see how it plays out.
All right, cool.
I'm not militant about it. I'm like, oh, that's just happening.
Yeah. Hopefully, it's not anything too crazy, but yeah. All right, we'll see. We'll see
But
as
he
it
hasn't been
unravels.
canceled. It hasn't been canceled yet. So because they're sticking with him for if Marvel stick with him, that means Disney's sticking with him
For
so,
now.
Yeah. Well, they released a
For
trailer.
now, because it's not something that's really publicly kind of
I just
blown
realized
up.
we never did Focus, but it turned out pretty good. So
Okay, well that's good. We
Film.
can do it on the fly. Just don't lean too far back.
I'm way back.
But yeah, so
Where am I?
Quantumania trailer came out.
I liked it. It looked pretty good.
It looked great, man. They did
The trailer company did a great job.
right. The team behind it did fucking fantastic. I love that trailer. The soundtrack was great.
Yeah, it's
the
got,
visuals
like,
that they
great
picked out was
ambient,
good.
like you know, sweeping industrial kind of like cyberpunk shit going on there a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit. You know, they were kind of introducing this whole new universe, the quantum universe
and
that's
like,
underneath ours.
I think just also because of the content, maybe
Mhm.
you get kind of like Guardians vibes and like you know
A little bit, especially with the soundtrack.
Because it's extra dimensional too, right? So it's different stuff going on.
Right. Right. Yeah.
Not really on Earth. It's on Earth, but like in a totally different.
In a different way, super microscopic.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, man. So I don't know.
Quantum.
It looks interesting. In the quantum realm, I do know about. I mean, I'm not 100% familiar with this, but I do know about that. There's like a city, like there's a quantum city.
You see it.
Yeah. You do see it in the previous when they went into the quantum realm.
You
previously.
see it for a little bit, like it's a fucking split second thing.
Yeah. So they have shown it before, but this time they're gonna go into that.
So Kang is there.
Kang is there, and I don't know whether the other versions of Kang abandoned the bad Kang into this quantum realm and kind of stuck him there like some kind of a prison or something like that. That's the idea that I'm getting, because in some of the voiceover I hear Kang asking Scott to help him if he can set him free in some way.
Yeah, there's gonna be some kind of a manipulation.
I think there is going to be
exchange of service.
Yeah.
Yeah,
or a promise.
Yeah, like he's like, I don't really want to help you out, but I got to get the fuck out of here. So I guess I gotta pick my battle here and help the bad guy. So
right. Yeah. I think that's gonna happen. And Kang being a very, very sly.
Well, he's got to go fight Apollo Creed's kids. So he's
there's that too, which is a great segue. So but yeah, no, Ant-Man Ant-Man Quantumania looks interesting. But yeah, man, introducing Kang, the big baddie, for this next phase. Seems awesome. Seems good. And Kang is a badass. He's a badass in the comics, man. I mean, he can single-handedly take down Thanos. So he's really no joke. And there's multiple versions of him, so he's not going to be too easy to defeat.
And he's traditionally, like, he has no powers. He's just really smart.
He's extremely smart.
I think he's actually descendant of Reed Richards.
Great grandson or something like that. But from what I hear, he's descendant of both Reed Richards and Dr. Doom, which is a big threat. Super big threat. Yeah.
Really interesting because it kind of all ties up, because we might get Doom and we're going to get Reed Richards soon. So it's like all these characters that are super related are coming into play at the same time.
Right. Because you can't introduce Kang without taking care of that.
Yeah.
Because it kind of
I wonder if they'll address that and they'll talk about it.
What's that?
I wonder if they'll address that. Be like,
I hope so.
You know, maybe they're they somehow get into like a fucking computer or whatever, looking at the history of the dude. Like, who the fuck's this Kang guy, right? And then like, Reed Richards. And they're like, what?
Yeah, they need to. It's about
maybe
time.
Just like a one-off comment or something like.
Well,
that.
they do. There's two big minds in the I got not the MCU, but in the Marvel comic book universe, is Reed Richards and Dr. Doom. Yeah. Reed Richards is the smartest man in the Marvel canon. So they have to introduce him. They have to introduce the first family of Marvel, which is the Fantastic Four. So I think by bringing in Kang, they're kind of doing that very indirectly. And they also have to, if they bring in the Fantastic Four, they have to bring in Dr. Doom, because Reed Richards and Victor Von Doom are like brothers.
Well, I think it's pretty obvious they're going to go do it, because they're going to do Secret Wars.
Secret Wars is tied into Doom as well. Yeah. So all of that comes together.
Infinity Saga without Thanos.
Right. Yeah, exactly. You can't do that. So I'm just kind of curious, and I'm curious in how they're going to do that. But I think bringing in Kang is kind of like the first step.
Yeah.
So that should be very interesting. And Jonathan Majors is playing in Creed 3. That's another trailer that just dropped this week. That looks good.
And he's fucking huge in the trailer.
Yeah, he's fucking ripped, man. Steroids are amazing. No, I'm playing.
I mean, but really though.
But, hey, I wouldn't put it past Hollywood, man. You need those results.
Yeah.
But
there's 3 months. Get crazy.
Yeah, right. Yeah, 3 months, just like that. No, Creed 3 looks amazing. Let's see here. Michael B. Jordan is directing this one. And Ryan Coogler had wrote the screenplay. And Jonathan Majors is playing the antagonist in this film. So it seems like that they grew up in the same neighborhood. Of course, Adonis Creed took one path, and then the Jonathan Majors character, I forget the name, took another path and was just, he ended
got
up
arrested.
He got arrested. He was in jail for a long time, and he feels like Adonis Creed took the life that he was destined to take. So at first he seems like, he's coming back, and he seems like he's coming back as a friend, and then, some kind of a hubris takes over him, or unless he had the whole thing planned. And it seems like he wants to take all of the success and everything that Adonis has achieved.
Cheated.
Right. He feels cheated, and he wants to take everything that Adonis gained as a world-class boxer. So, seems like they set the pieces up for, some a good fight there. So seems interesting. Seems good.
And I know this one, it won't have Rocky in it at all.
No,
I've known that for a couple of years now, because that was the plan. Stallone was like, I'm not going to be in that one. And
right.
And there were, at the time that I read all that, there was other tentative plans of doing like a young Rocky series, and then like another main timeline Rocky movie where he goes down to Mexico and trains some kid or something like that.
Right. There were.
I don't know where that's going to go, but so far we have the Creed 3 where he's not in it, and that's the only thing that's true.
I think it's I think
it'd be, I don't know, if they do a young like Rocky series, to be like,
I don't know. I think that's too much. I think that's
what is he gonna be going around the docks beating people up? Because there's no boxing. His boxing isn't even until the first movie. So
yeah, I don't. That's gonna suck if they go down that. I mean, it's kind of just beating a dead horse.
But he does get a little mention in the movie, so we'll see.
He does, of course. I mean, he was his kind of his mentor, his trainer, and all of that. So of course, that's going to be in the film. And then also, from what I found out, is that I believe the guy that plays Rocky's son, Vito, I forget his name, Vito Mangiarella. He's going to be in the film as well. So Rocky won't be in it, but his son's going to be in
the Balboa connections
to some capacity. Right. Exactly.
Cool.
So, that seems pretty good. But yeah, man. So Jonathan Majors is getting, some burn right now, in these two top movies.
Like ever since Last Black Man in San Francisco, he's been on a kind of a roll.
He's been on a serious roll, man. So, but the guy's a great actor.
Kind of came out of nowhere for me, at least.
Yeah. And it just started, that was a very, very independent film. It was a very indie film, and it didn't break box office records or anything like that. A lot of people that like the indie film movies saw him and thought that he was a fantastic actor, and then he just started getting a lot of recognition. And another series that kind of put him on the map was the Lovecraft Country. That was a big series on HBO. So that was a nice little mini series that kind of put him up there, and then he just started getting Marvel roles.
Nice.
So yeah, it was awesome. But yeah, man, that's all I have for the industry news.
Nice. I think that was good.
Yeah, cool. All right, so let's move on to some good stuff. Movie and series talk.
Okay.
All right, cool. So here we go. We have
our fantasy wars.
We have our fantasy. Yeah, both of the shows have wrapped up. Yeah. So, which one do you want to talk about first? We're gonna talk about Houses.
Let's go Rings of Power first.
Let's go. Yeah, let's do Rings of Power first. Okay. What'd you think?
Yeah. Like the first half was like garbage. to
Yep.
me.
Okay, the first few episodes.
Yeah, it felt like
Right.
I was watching like a bad CW show, and is saying something because I was a total CW nerd for like years, when like the height of the Arrowverse and shit like
I
that.
think everyone kind of
Like
was.
I set aside the cringy and like I was like, yeah, it's CW. What do you expect? But like going
Right.
to like an Amazon series that they spent like so much fucking money on,
Right.
I'm
Yeah.
like, what am I watching? Like, what the fuck is this?
400 million
Like, let me
for
get
the first
let me
season.
get launched off a sword and do a little twirl in the air and kill a troll with one hit, while
Yeah.
the rest of these elves who are supposed to be badass warriors can't do shit to it.
Yeah.
No, it's shit like that. It's changing up the whole everything, and but like you said, it did end on a strong suit.
Right. It
Not like
did.
the greatest. That there's it has potential
It has potential.
to fix itself in the season.
Really?
The following season.
Okay. So how did you like the finale?
How did I like the finale?
Because you said it was shit like halfway through
It
the
was
season.
and like the penultimate episode was garbage too. The one before the finale, that was absolute horseshit.
Really?
Yeah.
You didn't like that either.
It
Okay.
was just like the whole like scene where they wake up from the ashes and stuff, and they're like
Right.
wandering around all fucking
right.
Yeah. It's a bunch of stuff in that scene was just like out of nowhere and didn't make any sense, illogical. Like
Interesting.
yeah, but the finale was cool. I think it just like I said, it gives potential, and
Right.
like the whole scene of him walking into Mordor, he's like, "Oh yeah, badass, it's my town." Like,
Really? Is that what you got?
Yeah.
Okay. I have it.
It was too like on the nose for me. I think it was just like, "Hey,
was it too on the
here you
nose?
go. Here's Mordor. Check it out."
Hey, you get the fuck out of here. No way. Like, here's a brochure. Thanks for coming to Mordor.
He's like, I'm gonna go build my tower now, and like,
fucking A. All right. So I got a completely different.
yeah.
I
wasn't a big fan of the series overall. Is what I'm saying.
Yeah, I
Wasn't a
don't
big
think
fan.
we both
Yeah.
weren't, man.
Yeah.
And I said that for a long time.
Yeah, I think you were into it more than I was, for sure. I still watched it.
I had hopes.
I gave it the old college try like every week. I'm like, all right,
Listen.
I'll go and like, watch this. And
Right.
something
Right.
to watch.
Right. Let's see how they're doing. And that's what I
give
did.
it a
I
chance.
checked up on
Yeah.
them. Every episode was my opportunity to check up and see how they were doing. So, all right, just to make it clear, I was shitting on this whole series
Yeah.
since the beginning. I didn't like it. It was super slow. It was way too theatrical. Is very, very Shakespearean. Not to say that Shakespearean stuff is crap, but it was just kind of over the top theatrical for me. And I was just like, come on, man. Like, I wanted the magic from the movies, and it was missing that. So I had hopes for it. There was a part of me that had hopes because I respect the story. I love the original content. Right. So I agree with you. The first half of the season was shit.
Yeah.
Because it took too long for them to get to the point. It was just like, oh, what's all this fucking running around? And, it's like the whole situation with Elrond and the dwarves and all this. It was too much. And then the Numenor stuff, there was some shit that was just like, that would put me to sleep in certain episodes. However, it started to get good, I would say, the third to last episode.
Okay.
Right? Where everything started to add up. It just kind of wrapped everything up nicely, and I was like, oh, this all makes sense.
Yeah.
Right? Getting the Numenorians over to fight this, this battle and that whole, that the politics behind that. Okay, that's cool. The way that Mordor was made in the second to last episode, that was actually pretty cool. That was awesome. I thought that was very smart because during the whole thing you're just kind of wondering like, all right, when's Mordor going to pop up, because it needs to pop up before Sauron is revealed, and I think they did that nicely. I think there was kind of like this, they played around with us because you have these fans that know the story in and out, that kind of memorize this whole thing. They've read the Silmarillion, they're familiar with all of it. So the series producers had to play an okie doke on us, and I think they did that well with the revealing of Sauron too. So it's interesting, and I also think it's interesting how they displayed Sauron. He wasn't what you thought he was.
Yeah, because in the books he's supposed to be an elf.
He's supposed to be an elf.
Himself as an elf.
Right. He disguises himself as an elf. But you get to see a different personality with this Sauron. right? Because you get to hear that, you get to sympathize with him, and I think they did a good job of showing that, the showrunners,
Right.
right? Because you get to hear this thing of they keep saying, like, after Sauron was let loose from Morgoth's grip, he tried to heal
I think it was all bullshit.
Middle Earth. He and you heard it a couple times.
Yeah.
You think that was bullshit?
Yeah, I think it was all bullshit.
I think there's a certain degree.
He's trying to get Galadriel to go on his side.
No, but I think there's a certain degree, and not only that, but Andar said that too. Adar, I'm sorry, the dark elf. So it was said more than once. And I kind of understand that point of view, because in all actuality, Sauron was actually good at one point. He was converted to evil because he had this specific weakness, and his weakness was control. He wanted everything under his control. He wanted perfection. He was a tyrant.
Yeah.
And that was his crack.
Yeah, he was originally one of Ale's like Maiar.
Right.
So he was a blacksmith basically.
Right.
So
that's correct.
So blacksmiths are all about perfection. And
right.
So,
yes.
And crafting. And,
that's right. He was a craftsman.
And that's all he knows how to craft is the One Ring.
Correct. And I started to see that in the second to last episode when he was speaking with Celebrimbor.
Well, you can see that in the beginning too. He's like going by the blacksmith's place. He's trying to get like in the ranks and stuff.
It's slowly but surely, but it wasn't obvious up until the second to last episode, where he was telling Celebrimbor, "Oh, you should do this. Oh, you should do that. Oh, why don't you try this?"
Oh, you're
thing?
Celebrimbor. I know about you.
Yeah, I've heard of you. And he was like, "You've heard of me? What?
Southland fucking dude."
Yeah, like, who the fuck are you, dude? And that piqued my ear, because when I saw that interaction happening, I was like, whoa, wait a minute. There's some fishy happening here. What is this shit about? And then he started giving him advice.
Yeah.
And I'm like, wait a minute, hold on.
Oh, they're gifts.
And I was like, gifts my ass immediately.
No, that's that because Anatar in the books, he's a gift giver. He gives them the gifts.
Well, I get that, but
so that was a callback to all that shit.
Right, but that's what I mean. When I heard him say that,
think of them as gifts.
When I heard him say that, I was like, gifts my ass. First off, Celebrimbor is way older than you. This guy is a fucking hundreds of years old elf that's been doing this for a long time. You're human. Yeah. Who the fuck are you to tell this guy how to do shit? Yeah. So that's what was like a red flag that came up.
Right. That makes sense.
So I was like, wait, get the fuck out of here. You're telling this guy a bunch of shit, and he's like, oh yeah, I should do this. You're right. You're giving me good ideas. So I was like, there's something fishy happening here.
Celebrimbor got all like excited about the prospect of
doing
something new that he
That's right. And that's how ambition sucks you in. Yeah.
He's like, I can make some cool shit.
Yeah, he sucks you in, but he taps into your ego.
Yeah.
And that's Sauron's, trick. So but I liked how they flipped that over.
But I don't know, kind of weird. It's Galadriel's decision to make the rings powerful.
All right, that pissed me off.
Yeah. Because
that had no correlation. So all right, let me get to that. So all right, so getting back to Halbrand, his, I can understand that point of view of him trying to heal Middle Earth because of X, Y, and Z, and the whole situation with Morgoth and all that stuff. I can kind of understand it because, he comes from good, but there's that dark side that keeps leading him towards tyranny and trying to be perfect and trying to control. And then you see that anger come out when he's talking to Galadriel. Now, when they have that interaction, that reveal was great. I think was very well done. Where she's like, "You lied about who you are. I have the scroll right here. That line is dead. And all that shit." And then he actually reveals and he says who he is. Well, he doesn't say his name, but the way he says it, I'm like, oh, I did a Leo. I was like, oh,
he did say
son
too,
of a bitch.
Like, well, I never actually lied to you.
He didn't,
because he's like, I found it on somebody.
He didn't.
No, you are a king. He's like, all right, I guess I am.
And it was so sneaky because the guy that she was looking for the whole fucking time, she was rolling with him.
Yeah,
the whole time.
And then kind of like low key, like getting like simp status, dude, too.
Yeah.
He's like, oh, I want to fucking who's this guy? Mysterious.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
Starting to
and
get some
he did,
feelings.
and you know what? And of course it made sense to me because I'm like, yeah, of course Sauron would do that. Of course he'd be right under your nose, and you wouldn't expect it.
Yeah.
You know, so I think that played true to his character.
Yeah.
Now, after his whole reveal, he was fucking with her mind with all those illusions and all that shit. And then she goes, she goes back to the blacksmithing place, the tower, and all that shit. And then she's like, "Yeah, we need to continue with this plan and create the rings." That was the stupidest thing, I think.
Yeah, she's like, well, it needs to be in the elves' hands.
I think that's stupid. I think that was the most ridiculous thing ever because the guy clearly, like, if you're searching for this guy Sauron, and he is actually he's in the you find out who he is, and his whole goal is to create these items. Why on earth would you go back and say, "Yeah, let's finish making these items"? What the fuck?
The Elven rings were always created in secret, without Sauron's knowledge until later on. Even though when he did make the Ring of Power, even though he didn't know about him, he still, when in his magic, he's like, I'll put dominion over all rings of power. So he still had dominion over them, but he didn't know they existed. So even in the Silmarillion and all that, Celebrimbor always made the 3 Elven rings in secret with the knowledge that he gained from like Anatar and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So that's, I think, like, making it in secret is like still within the lore a little bit, but making it Galadriel's idea to be like power hungry and be like, no, we need power.
Yeah,
like,
that
was a bit out of nowhere.
That was kind of.
Where I think in the books it was always Celebrimbor's like thing.
That would have made more sense if they would have ran with Celebrimbor's idea of, okay, let's keep pushing it, and then the king, the High King, actually was like, okay, you know what, you've convinced me, all right, let's continue on with this thing. But the fact that she came back after that experience, you know, all gun-ho, like, yeah, let's continue with this, she should have, I believe she should have been a little bit more precautious,
like, let's destroy everything.
It's like, this guy wants this thing to happen, so I don't think that's a good idea. I think there might be a trap. It's a trap. Like that kind of thing. But that's really the only thing that pissed me off. It just didn't have
well, then Elrond's like he's like, oh shit, what the fuck did I just get myself into? He's like,
Elrond is smart, but he kept quiet.
He was like, this is really significant. This is going to be like really big down the road.
Yeah, he put all the pieces together. He knew exactly.
He was very reluctant. He's like, I have no real choice but to take this. He's like, if I don't take it, it's going to fall into somebody else's hand probably. And,
right.
Because Elrond's always like the most wise.
Right.
Of, you know, the guy of 2 worlds. He's half elf, half man, and
right.
Yeah. And the son of like the most famous fucking
pretty much. I mean, his story is the story of the symbols.
The guy who literally went off and became a fucking star.
Yeah, pretty much
to guard the moon.
Yeah, man.
Imagine like, hey, yeah, your dad, by the way, like I knew him, and then he went off and became like the literal god. He's out there, he's guarding the moon.
He's a demigod.
He's this.
Yeah, man. No, his story is interesting. His story is really interesting.
Yeah. Which then also they're all ancestors and relatives of Aragorn. So Aragorn's a direct descendant.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Interesting. Okay.
Because he's the descendant of Elrond's brother Elros, who chose to become a man and start the Númenóreans.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. The line gets a little fuzzy because they didn't focus on and I hope they
show it in the tower of Elros' tower.
Do they?
Númenor, when they see the mural where you see Elrond and his brother parting ways.
You did speak about that.
Yeah.
No, but I'm talking about at least the Númenóreans. Because that line isn't distinct. I mean, of course, they talk about like Isildur.
Yeah, they mentioned it a little bit.
Yeah. They've spoken about Isildur, and you know.
Isildur is, you know, he's basically Elrond's nephew of like 1,000 years.
Right, that's the thing. Yeah. So they never touched on that. They should have a little bit, but not yet. They haven't touched on it.
Uncle.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, man. But I think the setup and the creation of Mordor was interesting. To me that was interesting.
A dormant volcano erupting.
Right. Yeah. And how there was a whole big plan behind that. Yeah, I thought that was cool. They, you know, of course, they wrapped up who the stranger was.
Yeah, I wish it was like a different character than it's gonna be Gandalf, and it's like,
It is Gandalf.
fuck, man, he's not supposed to be there for a long time.
I know.
You know? Yeah.
But
The first wizards are
they
supposed to be
shoehorned him in there.
The first they had so much opportunity too, because the first wizards that do come in to Middle Earth are the Blue Wizards.
The Blue Wizards.
which
I was just
which
about to
never
say that.
get
They
really
don't-
talked about in the lore.
The twins.
Yeah.
Yeah, the twins. Yeah, that's right.
Like Tolkien was just like, oh fuck, I forgot to do that, and then died. So never got any.
Yeah, I mean, they were referenced.
Apparently, they're like, oh fuck Middle Earth, and they go off to the east, and they do like basically what Gandalf and the rest of the good wizards do in the east.
Yeah,
Like what Gandalf does in the west, they do in the east. So they go off to the east lands.
interesting.
You got Middle Earth, but like the map keeps fucking going. So
Right.
there's shit that way.
Yeah, there's
So,
more shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where the fuck is east? I don't know.
Yeah, I
The
don't
east
know.
is somewhere.
You know, you're east from your west.
Well, it's to my right, somewhere.
To your right.
Yeah.
In any case,
But
yeah, they don't talk about the Blue Wizards as much. But again, listen, this is the first season. I think that the way, again, my favorite are the last 3 episodes out of the whole season. Last 3 episodes, just everything culminates. What the orcs were doing, where they were digging those trenches, that was for the water that went down into the fucking lava pit, and that created the whole eruption and all that. Everything culminated. Everything made sense. Everything that they were leading up to.
I like the inclusion of the Uruks, which is the first orcs, and the corruption of the elves.
That's right.
Because Adar is an orc
technically, but he's a dark elf.
Well, he's the first of the corrupt. Like
he's the first of the corrupted.
He's Morgoth's orcs, the ones that he corrupted. He corrupted the elves and made the orcs.
Right. That's
and then from him, that's why they call him father.
Right.
They call Adar father because he's like the
one of the first. Yeah.
So, but it's interesting how he can still sit in the sun, and he remembers like what it was like to be in like the in Linden and all that shit, and in like the elves' fucking ancestral land where they're the Undying Lands.
Yeah.
So he's like, I remember like what it felt like and all that shit. And
yeah.
And then Morgoth came and was like, hey, sorry, you're all mine now.
Yeah. That's crazy.
Torch you and twist you and make you, and you get a mention.
And
of
they've
that.
gotten progressively worse.
You get a mention of that in the original films with Christopher Lee's Saruman talks about that.
Yeah.
He's like, it was rumored that blah blah blah.
Yeah.
He's talking to Wormtongue. Remember about the army? Remember about how they think the first orcs came about.
Yeah.
They were originally elves.
And they were twisted by Morgoth.
So it was cool to see that little bit of lore pop in.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I'm disappointed that they went the easy route. They're like, oh yeah, Gandalf. It's like,
of course. Yeah. I mean, it was the showrunners playing the okie doke because they played around with you thinking that that stranger was
like, who's who? I don't know.
Yeah. And they did a good job of doing that.
Like, is he Sauron? I don't know.
Because I kind of thought that he was. I was like, he's doing kind of some dumb shit. So he might be Sauron.
They're gonna do like some parody video where like it's Gandalf in the future, and like he comes across some fireflies and he has flashbacks. He's like, oh shit. I killed your ancestors.
Yeah, man. Yeah. So I don't know, man. I think they did a great job at
tying up some of the fucking shit.
Yeah, and kind of, doing a lot of okie dokes, like leading you down this one path, thinking that it's this when it's actually something else.
Yeah, makes sense.
So, but I had an inkling that the stranger was going to be Gandalf.
Yeah.
So
we'll see. I like they shoehorned like a traditional like Gandalf quote in there somewhere. I can't remember the exact quote, but he's like, let me insert some wisdom here. About like
something like that.
Yeah. Like about like fear, like because like the little like Harfoot, she's like like being afraid to go on or whatever. He's like, well,
yeah.
Yeah. All right, Gandalf quote. All right, gotta get one of those.
Okay,
let's add it to the montage.
Why not? I mean,
it's
kind of revealed
when he did that little quote. Like I knew what they were doing, but like it was only thing I think it was like it doesn't hold up to the gravitas of Ian McKellen. Like, it never will.
Of course not.
Never will.
Of course not, man. But they did that just to confirm. This is confirmation. That's really all it was. Yeah.
But then, like, I guess it does make sense too, like where his affinity for the hobbits comes from, and
that does make sense.
And also, in traditional lore, he gets the name Gandalf from the Rune people who eventually become the Rohirrim, and Rohan. So the runes become the nation of Rohan down the road. So
Huh.
they're the ones that name him Gandalf.
No shit.
Yeah,
Yeah, because he doesn't have a name
because
yet.
the elves call him Mithrandir.
Yeah. Yeah,
And
that's
his
right.
real name is Aloran, but
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
all these fucking names.
Well, ancient creatures like that, man. Like, celestial creatures. They have many names.
He's like, I just want to go back to my fucking gardens, man. Just want to go chill, smoke my pipe.
Yeah, there you go.
Fucking-
That guy was a serious pothead.
That's why he was like found Bilbo. He was like, oh.
Well, you know what? That's funny because, and I was thinking about that the other day. I was like, man, Gandalf is a serious pothead because he always goes back to his dealer. And I was like, the hobbits are his dealers. So he pops up every now and then. He's like, hey, let's just go for a smoke.
He
like lights up
like
his pipe.
when they found fucking Pippin and Merry after the Battle of Isengard, fucking all high on the long bottom leaf.
Yeah.
He's probably like, fucking hobbits, they found it first.
Dude, yeah, man. I mean, listen, Tolkien is cheeky. He was being cheeky setting that up, man. He didn't outrightly
salted pork
put it out there, but he definitely. I got that. I got that reference. Gandalf is
people deny it. They're like, oh, it's long bottom leaves, just tobacco. It's like, no, that shit
bullshit.
gets you fucking stoned.
Yeah, he was freaking stoned. Even what's his face said this? Christopher Lee's character, Saruman.
Yeah.
Even he said it at one point in one of the movies. He's like,
your love of the a love of the halfling's leaf has dulled your mind.
Yeah, and I was like, yep, he's a pothead. I know. I know what that means.
Well, that's why he's so chill.
Yeah,
Radagast is over there just doing mushrooms and shit.
He is on another level, man. That guy has.
He fell in the wrong area.
He fell in the wrong area. He's just stuck on mushrooms. He got bird shit dripping down his side of his head, dude. He's got squirrels living in his hair. Yeah, that guy's super hippie. He's in too deep.
He does the fucking he smokes like the fucking salvia whenever he does his magic. He's like,
yeah, you remember that? His eyes got crossed. You remember that? You remember that scene? It was hilarious, man. Oh, good shit. But listen, man, I think that they wrapped it up pretty well, and on top of that, the very last the finale episode where they played the song. Did you hear the song at the end when he was walking into Mordor?
Yeah.
Right, and they played that song. 3 rings for the elves.
Yeah.
7 rings for the dwarves.
I was like,
I thought that was a cool song. I liked it. That was cool. I played it over again. I was like, yeah, that's awesome.
To me, that was like the over the top, like on the nose. It's like, yeah, we know the fucking thing. It's like 3 rings for the elves. Like, it's like, yeah, I get it. All right.
You're such a hater. You're such a damn hater. I like
also what was interesting to me, I mentioned it earlier when you got here, is that Halbrand to me reminded me a lot of Aragorn.
Yeah, he did.
In some of his mannerisms and the way he looks. Literally, like his.
You think they did that on purpose?
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
And that to me is kind of a cool tie-in to the way that he taunts him and has this kind of like a weird affinity and relationship with that line, because he did know Elendil and Isildur.
And did know them.
Yeah.
Holy shit. You're right. That's true.
And so knowing that, and it's just interesting to me that like there's a connection there between them.
Yeah, they fucking battled together, man.
Yeah.
Oh, it's weird to think about that now.
Yeah.
Huh. That's it. And this is another thing. Is this now canon?
No, I don't think so. I don't consider it canon.
Right? Because it's weird now. It strays away from
thing, especially after like how Amazon shit on Peter Jackson and was like, you know what, we're not going to go.
You told me about this, where they contacted him and then they didn't follow up.
Yeah, and they're like, you know what, no, because they wanted him to come in there and work on it without questioning things, and he's like, well, I just want to see some scripts first,
right?
And they were like, okay, we'll get back to you, and they never did.
That doesn't make any sense, man.
So well, if you think about it, like, what's canon anyways? Because what are we talking about? We're talking about book canon, and we're talking about movie canon, and we're talking about I think we could separate this the way we separate movie from books.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah, we can make this its own thing.
Okay, fair enough.
And then use the other places as points of reference and be like, oh, this is kind of like they're referencing this, or they're tying into that, or they're doing.
Yeah, that's true.
And they can go a different direction because it's so much has changed, and it's like. It wouldn't make any sense.
I mean, and they're filling in the blanks too, because a lot of it hasn't
in
been
the movie.
discussed.
Like with the whole fucking last alliance of elves and men, Gandalf wasn't there because Elrond's like, I was there, Gandalf,
That's
3,000
true.
years ago. You would think that
That's
if he
true.
was around that time, that
He
Gandalf would be there.
He would be there.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you're
Yeah.
absolutely right. He wasn't there.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
So,
true. Okay.
changing the timeline, like the Balrog 2 was like 1,000 years later and more, and
Yeah.
so I'm not sure how that even is gonna is. I hope they just use that as like a little reference, and then like it doesn't come.
It
back
is.
To it.
That's how I
Yeah.
took it. I took
Yeah.
it as a reference because, of course, the elves,
Yeah.
downfall is because they
He's
dig
like,
too deep.
What the fuck is this leaf? He's like-
Yeah. That's the king. Yeah, the king was.
But the Balrogs, it's interesting because Sauron, Gandalf, Saruman, and the Balrogs, they're all of the same species. They're all Maiar.
No, the Balrogs are not.
Yeah,
they were created.
Balrogs are Maiar. Look it up.
Are you?
Yeah.
Yeah, for real?
Yeah, they were corrupted by Morgoth.
No shit.
Yeah.
I thought Morgoth created them.
No, they were basically just corrupted by him. Corrupted Maiar.
Oh, you know what?
Yeah.
You know what? I stand corrected. You are
Yeah.
absolutely right. Because the problem with Morgoth was that he couldn't create anything.
Right.
He can only corrupt. So that's why he could. Yeah, you're right.
And it's interesting
right.
too because I think his story starts as he wanting to stamp out corruption in the universe and creating a sense of order, and I think that's how he got his start. And it's funny because a lot of like villains of that nature kind of like a similar story.
They start off as trying to be good guys.
Yeah, a lot of like similar like things.
Good intentions. Good intentions always lead to evil. Sauron, Morgoth. Very interesting stuff. I wonder what Tolkien's trying to say there, with his experience. Coming from like World War II and all that stuff. So that's interesting. That's very interesting. But yeah, there's a little correlation there. All right, so moving on. I thought it was great. You thought it was shit.
I thought it ended hopeful, and I think that with the criticisms they've gotten and all that shit, that they're gonna obviously Amazon's not gonna fucking waste their money, so they're gonna.
Well, they're gonna milk. You see what's coming, right?
Well, hopefully they take some things to heart and like button down the hatches a little bit and figure out like the writing holes and the mistakes they made.
Yeah, I hope so,
and then
man.
Maybe kind of like hopefully they rely on more on practicals because there's too much shit CGI that I noticed in this fucking series.
Of course, it's a lot.
It looks very plastic and I was watching Tales of the Jedi earlier, and there was a space scene that was just one off like when the ship comes in out of like hyperspace, and like it was so good, it was like almost indistinguishable from like a CGI shot that I would see in a movie.
Really?
Yeah. So like if like they can make me believe that like that shit looks fucking legit in a cartoon, like.
And it's a little bit of leeway when it comes to a cartoon because you don't have to have that much
like,
detail.
Right. But if I could like compare that, if I can compare these two, they're supposed to be like live action cartoons.
Yeah. That's true, I guess.
So,
listen, Amazon money, man.
Improvement.
Amazon money.
The wigs and all the prosthetics need some work and some production cleanups, some writing cleanups.
I would say their practical
cleanups.
stuff like the armor and all that needs work.
Yeah, it looks like
that looks plastic.
Like the Warcraft film.
Like, that looks like shit.
Yeah, like that's too clean. Like it just came off the. Like it doesn't look like what a workshop material.
No,
like,
no, it doesn't. It doesn't look like real.
And you know what?
Armor.
I wonder if they would have kept good grace with Jackson. They would have gotten what a workshop on that.
Right.
Yeah. That's his company.
So, yeah, that would have been cool.
What a workshop is like Industrial Light
ILM
for Lucas.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, yeah, that's Peter Jackson's Star Wars.
Yeah.
Essentially.
He made that company.
Yeah, pretty much.
He's like, you know what? I'll just make my own company to get my shit.
Yeah, man. He took a page right out of Lucas's book, man. But like I was gonna say, you see what they're doing, right? You see this first season was the story of the rings of power for the elves. Next season is going to be the dwarves.
Yeah.
Next season after that is going to be the men.
It was interesting that we didn't get any dwarves in the finale. We missed out on some loose ends there. They didn't tie up with the dwarves.
Well, what was it? The last thing that we saw with the dwarves was that they found the mine of Mithril.
The king was like, "Oh, we're not."
And the king was like, "Yeah, we're not going to do that."
But the dwarves weren't present at all. There was no dwarven storyline in the finale. So it was all focused on elves and men,
right?
And Sauron and the stranger and shit.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. They had a small part.
But yeah, I do think it's going to go towards the
right. The main rings, focus
because Durin gets one.
Right.
The younger, I think he's going to get one.
Right. Yeah. That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
And then we also need the 9 rings of men.
Right. So I think
Yeah.
for each season they're going to focus on each one of those.
And
So
then,
I think
and then,
this
and then
season was
end,
the
and then
elves.
I think it's gonna end like to the buildup of the last alliance of elves and men and stuff. Probably.
Yeah. Yeah. So maybe
yeah.
3 to 4 seasons.
I think they
maybe.
said 4.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that makes sense to me. If they can dedicate a season for each, story of Rings of Power, then that makes sense to me.
Yeah.
That's cool. All right. Well, cool, man. All right. So that's done. That's out of the way. What else we got here? Hot D.
Yeah, you can't get into the hot D, huh? Yeah.
It's the House of the Dragon. All right, man.
I'm gonna take a shot. Actually, so
Go ahead, man. Go ahead. Shot break. All right. I don't know. I think this season, this guy. We're playing it wild and loose. Let's see. While you're doing that, yeah. All right, folks, we are back. We got a little bit more drunk. We took our shots.
Yeah. Well,
we got to get ready because this House of
the hot D's.
The hot D's, no joke.
Coming hot.
And coming in hot.
Hot indeed.
Yeah, man. breathing fire.
Yeah.
All right. So what are your thoughts? What are your thoughts of the House of this Dragon?
I'll let you go first this time. I went first on Rings.
You have more information than I do. I have saw the last episode. I mean, kind
well, you saw half of it, then we watched a little bit.
Right, we saw like the last 10 minutes
of it. Yeah,
yeah. Last 10 minutes.
I think overall, if we go back to where we were talking about Fantasy Wars in August,
yeah,
I think that House of the Dragon easily comes out on top.
Wins?
Oh, fucking you know why? Because they got dragons, motherfucker, and dragons always beat people in the land battles. So
okay, that's true.
There
are no dragons in Middle Earth.
Here's like Middle Earth over here, and then fucking House of Dragons.
How are there not tons of dragons?
But they all died out in the in the old the First Age. Like Smaug is one of the last dragons.
He is right. He is one of the last ones.
That's why Gandalf was so concerned, because he's like, oh, Sauron like figures out this thing exists, he can go corrupt him and get him on his side, and then we're fucked because they got a fucking fire breather.
That's true.
But no, House of the Dragon, like, dude, like in like all categories, I think like if we just talk production, like production value, just killed it.
Right.
They definitely blended their CGI way better, I believe, than because
Hands
there's a
down.
lot of things that I didn't realize
Hands
were
down.
CGI or green screen that I saw like in the making of episodes, like after the fact.
There's a combination.
Yeah, so like I was like, fuck, there's like I didn't realize that was a green screen. They did really well with blending that shit in,
Right.
and like the blending of the dragon CGI was really good, and
I mean, this is fucking HBO,
and then, like,
man. These
going
guys
down production stuff, like the fucking cinematography, like let's just go like down
yeah,
the line.
let's go. Yeah, let's do it.
Like cinematography was fucking gorgeous, dude.
Yes.
Like they use this kind of like semi flat log look, but with like they turned the warmth up a lot on this
Yeah,
series.
well, that was the color grading, but
Yeah,
yes, you're right.
yeah.
They did use a lot of log.
But that like comes into effect with like what the look they're going with, like how they want to show things. So
Right.
I've like specifically cinematography, like framing and like camera and the way they felt.
Fantastic.
I love how they did a lot of changing things up in their method. Like in the finale, it was shot way different than the other episodes. Especially in the beginning of the episode where they're going through the tension of Rhaenys coming on Dragonback. She's like, your father's dead, your throne's been usurped, and then like kicking into like the miscarriage of the baby.
Yeah.
And the way it was filmed, it was almost like instead of like traditional framing where it feels more static, it felt like you were a character that was like next to
you
the
were
people.
right there.
Like you were like huddled with everybody else, like watching it, and like a lot of the dialogue was like very close, but to the side, like you weren't getting a lot of frontal.
No, you weren't.
You were getting a lot of profile. Like you were just and it was quick, and like the music of like I always butcher his name.
Did you also notice that there were a lot of low angles as well?
Yeah.
There wasn't any angles of like cameras being up here. Everything was just kind of like a little lower, like to make their statue a little bit bigger.
Ramin Djawadi, did I get that? Maybe DJAW
Dajwadi.
All right, I'll go with.
I think that makes sense.
I'm
right.
He's been like the composer for Game of Thrones like for a long time now. He's on House of Dragon.
Yeah,
and like that, those shots combined with his music, like just like it felt very tense, and I was, it felt like very like Hunt for Red October-ish to me, but like I was like, so glued, not like in a sense I'm chasing somebody, but I was just like so tense and like unnerved. I'm like, what is happening? Like, what's going on?
No shit.
I'm like, I could feel their tension of like the unexpectedness of the moment, because when they come in, she's sitting there lecturing her youngest kid about accepting responsibility as Lord of Driftmark and stuff, and
right.
And then his grandfather is supposedly dying, so Rhaenys coming on Dragonback so quickly, they're like, oh, this must be the moment that you get your inheritance and all that.
Right.
And then she's all expecting her to say that Corlys is dead, and she's like, no, your dad's dead, like, and your throne's fucking
right.
Yeah.
She didn't. Yeah, she didn't know.
And then Damon's like, the fuck, like we were.
Oh, Damon is ready to go.
He
man.
was like, we were just there yesterday. Like it was. I think he dies like that day, and like they leave, and they get the notice. So he's like, someone's killed my brother because we just saw him.
Immediately, he's like, well, why are you still alive? Like the dude is on point. Yeah. Like he is gangster. I'm not gonna lie. He's the most gangster out of all of them. Immediately, the guy's like he's on point, ready for war.
He's been planning this shit forever.
Because he's like asking the right questions. He's like, wait, so how did he die? And she's like, well, I don't know. And he's like, all right, somebody killed the king. And then he's like, so why are you still alive? Yeah. You coming out of here unscathed? What's going on with you? Like the dude's asking all the right questions, man. So yeah, that was cool. At first I didn't like Matt Smith's character, but Damon is a fucking badass, man. Yeah. I give it to him. I like him.
It's interesting because like I don't think he's too much younger than Viserys was, but just like the range of difference between like.
Wait, too much younger? What?
He's his brother. He's the king's brother.
Right. I don't know about that, man. I think there's maybe about 10, at least 10.
I think in the book
age difference.
I think in the book it's like 4 years.
That's
well. Also in the books, their characters are like 29 and 30ish.
Okay,
like,
well, that's
like Viserys is like 29 or 30 in the books.
Okay, that's
so like they changed things up a lot, but still like the contrast between like Daemon still looks like Like he barely has age, and like Viserys is over there with fucking like leprosy.
The
just,
guy's
like,
falling.
dying.
Yeah, the guy's a skeleton.
But that was the whole moment like leading up to that, and then the fucking birth scene where she rips out the fucking
That's
spoilers. She rips out the baby from her. What's up with the birth scenes, dude? There's so many birth scenes. In this,
yeah,
this
there's a
series.
lot of them, and
There's
some of them are gruesome.
I wonder, like, I was thinking about this earlier. I was like, maybe this is like a reference to their desire to breed so much because they want to keep the line going. Like,
but then again,
think how much like
same blood.
Think about how much of
So
the idea of like succession and birthing plays into this story of Targaryens because they're constantly worried about people having enough kids or like getting married and having like
and they're
children
keeping it in. They're keeping it in the.
So like maybe that's why they showed this emphasis on like that's kind of the whole reason why.
Because technically, when you do shit like that, this is what happens. Come on, man. It's like it's too close. It's too close.
Yeah, well, no, but like, she had a miscarriage because of the stress of like all that shit.
Well, that too. But also, that's your uncle. So,
well, she already had 2 kids with them.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's true. Yeah. That's true. Yeah.
Because like spoilers in the book, her oldest through Daemon, Aegon the Younger, who's Aegon the Third, becomes at the outcome of all this shit, he becomes the king.
Right. Yeah.
Because it goes from Aegon the Second, and then Rhaenyra eventually sacks the capital, and she holds King's Landing for like 2 months or something like that in the book.
Yeah.
And then she gets killed eventually. Spoiler: she gets eaten alive by a dragon.
Yeah.
And then after all the ashes and shit settled, and like they're like, "What the fuck was all this for?" They're like, "All right, let's place this guy on the throne."
Yeah,
so
pretty much. They have to continue the line.
So Aegon the Third becomes the king.
Yeah.
And then from there, that's where we get Jon Snow and all that eventually.
Yeah, and then the Mad King and all that.
Yeah.
But no, this Civil War is on and popping.
Yeah.
Right now,
and we're gonna get a lot. I think there's something around 20 or less dragons that partake. So we've only gotten like maybe a third of the dragons we'll see.
There's going to be a dragon war.
Yeah. Well, yeah. And this is how they all die out.
Yeah. This is going to be interesting.
Almost all of the dragons die in this battle.
Yeah.
This war.
Yeah.
Only a few survive. And then from there, they get perpetually smaller and smaller until
it's setting up. So be ready, folks. When they say House of the Dragon,
and we got a glimpse of a little dragon fight.
There was, man, that was a Jaws moment right there.
It was literally a Jaws moment.
Serious. Jeez, poor little dragon, poor little guy. Like now it's war. They killed her son,
killed his sister's kid. Because they're the youngest children of Viserys, and that was her dad.
So, oh shit! Yeah, that's right.
Because those kids are his nephews.
Yeah, they are. It's just confused. This family line is confusing because I forget. Because I'm like, isn't that his aunt? And I'm like, no, that's his sister.
Yeah,
that's right.
But there's so much age difference, is why.
Yeah. Fucking Targaryen.
And there's also a third brother in the book, and supposedly they're going to introduce him in the next season. Daeron Targaryen. He's the youngest. So we got Aegon, then Aemond, and then Daeron.
Oh, okay.
So apparently, in the book, I think at this time, like Daeron's squiring for somebody in King's Landing.
Yeah.
So he's off, not around.
What are they 3? They didn't introduce 3 in the.
They did. They didn't do it in this season, so they're probably gonna do it next season.
Huh.
He just got added to like the official character guide. So there's like people are like fucking tearing shit apart for Easter eggs, and they're like,
"Oh, I see."
Like, where's his character at? Because he's supposed to be. He plays a role. He rides a dragon. He fights in the war.
Yeah, that's interesting.
I think he's the same age in the books, at least, as Rhaenyra's oldest child. So Jacaerys.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's
who went off to Winterfell, which we'll see in season 2.
Ooh,
that's gonna be cool because Cregan Stark is the one that is. He is the son of the guy we saw in episode 1, the old Stark dude that knelt and swore fealty to Rhaenyra.
Yeah,
he's the son of that guy, and he's taken over Winterfell now by this time, and he's about the same age, a little bit older than Jacaerys, who went off to go see him. And in the books, I guess they get like really close, like they bond and they go off and hunt together, and they get drunk and shit like that. And they make a pact of ice and fire, which is like if they like help them out and like like keep their oath and all that, then Jacaerys would marry his firstborn daughter to one of the Stark boys. They call it the Pact of Ice and Fire.
Convenient, isn't it? Convenient.
Which never got realized because in the book Jacaerys gets killed. All of Rhaenyra's kids, besides Aegon the Third, and
They all get
and
killed.
Viserys get killed. Yeah,
Shit.
and Viserys also becomes king later,
Mm-hmm.
because he gets taken off to like Essos. He gets smuggled for safety, and
Oh, no
they
shit.
think he dies in the books. Like the family thinks he's dead,
Yeah.
and he turns up later on because he got smuggled to safety.
Huh.
And there's a lot of succession bullshit where Aegon the Third's descendants don't have children, so he ends up becoming king 3 kings later after his brother's death. So
Yeah.
his brother dies, and then there's another king, and then Viserys is old as shit, becomes king after that, and then he's king for a year in his 70s.
No shit.
Yeah, and then from there, that's where the line continues down to Daenerys and shit.
That's fucking crazy monarchies, man. It's fucking insane.
And apparently, this is George R.R. Martin does historical events in his books.
That's right.
So
that's right.
I think this one is based on this thing called the Anarchy.
Is it?
Which took place in England in the 1100s. And a lot of the events that take place in this series mirror this shit that happens. This whole succession crisis.
Yeah. There's also the War of the Roses.
Well, the War of the Roses is more of
the Tudors.
Game of Thrones.
That's Game of Thrones, right?
And then this is the Anarchy. So, George R. R. Martin's a total history nerd. He basically,
man.
So it's pretty cool. But he's created a very vibrant and interesting universe.
The world building. That's the key
show
here.
Goes, I think they if you compare it to season 1 of Game of Thrones, story's probably on point in the same aspect, but the production values, all the lessons they learned from Thrones,
right,
are it's already refined.
They've learned from all of that.
And now it's it's how much more pristine of a season 1 can you get for a show of this caliber?
I think it's a great season 1. I mean, from the start, it had me.
Mm-hmm.
So I was a fan.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. All right. So let me ask you this, man. They have fully redeemed themselves as far as Game of Thrones world is concerned.
Well, that depends on who.
After the sour,
are we talking about
after the sour taste?
Are we talking about in what theater of redemption? Are we talking about George R. R. Martin? Are we talking about HBO? Are we talking about?
I'm talking about HBO. I'm talking about HBO and that reputation of this world.
I think HBO
being brought back.
I think HBO has got a good foot there. I think they did the right thing.
Yeah. Okay.
Getting these guys to do this series and not going back to Dan and Dave. They're you guys done.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
Ryan Condal, I think is his name, is the showrunner for this.
Mm-hmm.
So
because I tried to,
and
I tried to tell other people
yeah.
about this. I'm like, yo, man, you guys got to watch House of the Dragon. This is awesome. And then everyone had like a sour taste in their mouth. They're like, oh man, this last season of Game of Thrones, I don't want to watch this shit. It's crap. And then I'm like, listen, no, it's actually pretty good, man. They're doing a great fucking job. It's better.
And that's the thing, was like HBO always wanted that series to go on and continue it in the right way. And it was Dan and Dave who were like, nope.
Right.
We're done.
Yeah.
We're not going to renew our contract. We're done.
That sucks. Yeah, and they dropped the ball.
HBO was like, do we want to keep going? And George R. R. Martin's like, it needs 3 more seasons at least. And then they're like, no, we want to do Star Wars.
That fucking sucks.
And then they didn't get Star Wars. So
yeah. Because they fucked up. Fucked up,
so
man.
I think I was talking about this earlier. We were watching that Burlington Bar reaction video.
Yeah.
And I was telling you, they were pretty big in the Game of Thrones run and all that.
Mm-hmm.
And in the first episode, I remember watching it. There was nobody in the bar, watching the House of the Dragon. At the end, the last episode, it's all packed. It's standing room only.
Which is exactly
like word of mouth traveled. People were like, that's the thing. The universe, that universe never really died as far as the love for it. But they were like, we don't want to be heard again.
That's what it is.
And
don't hurt me again.
So we're not gonna watch it. I don't want to deal with it.
Don't get me involved. And that's
then once word of mouth spread, it was dude, you gotta watch it. You gotta watch it.
Right. Exactly. And then full bar.
I think next season is gonna be huge numbers for sure. Especially with the weight we're gonna have, because with all the way television is gone, we don't get the yearly releases much anymore. It's 2 years or maybe a year and a half, 2 years between seasons now.
That's true, because they you gotta add time for the production, man.
It's so much more cinematic now, so there's so much more time.
Right.
So I think they're going to film in early 2023, so we're thinking like 2024 is probably going to be the
Probably.
release date.
Yeah, they're
So
going to need a
we got
full
like
year
we got a
for
year and a
production.
half, 2 years to look at.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
but yeah, it's like all the hype, like just in that little time span, like all the hype built up, and like I think the fan base is like locked in, they're ready.
Yeah,
and,
man.
And it ended on a good, because like they're smart to like give the Baratheon side of that little exchange and not the Stark. They're like, no, we're gonna save the Stark for next season.
They can do, and it's a smart move.
Yeah.
It's a
And we're
smart
also
move because
getting-
then they can take their time when they come in, and it's something to give people because everyone loves the fucking Starks. They really want. That's what they really
They
want.
perk up. They're like, oh, Starks.
Yeah, exactly. That's what they really want. So yeah, have them have a little morsel for them, little breadcrumbs.
And we're
so
getting
they
more, like a lot more Stark too, because I think I would bet that the Snow
They're gonna-
series is going to be out before season 2 of.
You
House of
told
the
all right.
Dragon.
So you told me
Yeah.
about this. You told me about the Snow
Yeah.
series. They're not filming yet,
Are they not?
right?
I think they're going to be filming soon, right? I think it's like it's in like the all but confirmed stage, like where rumors get spread
This is
around.
actually happening.
Yeah, it's pretty much happening. Like let me check this out. Hold on.
Okay. Because again, I don't know. And is Kit back?
Yeah.
Okay. Kit Harington, Jon Snow, for those who don't know his real name.
So yeah, like so as a couple days ago, HBO hasn't officially announced the show, but there's so much like shit coming out and like rumors and stuff flying. It's basically all but confirmed.
I'm on the fence about this.
Well, it's I don't know. I think it's gonna
Again,
happen.
don't hurt
I think
me.
it's gonna happen. But as far as content goes, like I don't know what they're gonna do.
Because this is brand new. This is new territory.
Yeah.
Right?
We'll see.
So they don't have anything to go off of.
But my point is that we will have more Thrones content, and there's all these potentials now. Like you just like, there's no way they're not gonna keep pushing this universe. Like, I think there's another one they were talking about.
You're right.
There's another one.
It is a cash cow for them now.
Heard another title called 10,000 Ships, which is about Princess Nymeria.
Yeah.
Who fled. She fought with Valyria and she fled and established Dorne.
Yeah, you told me.
So I think that's a series that is going to be the thing, because that's like Arya's like hero.
Yeah,
Nymeria. Yeah, that's why she named her Wolf Nymeria.
Yeah.
She wants to be a explorer.
Yeah,
goes off. And...
This world is expansive.
Yeah.
So as far as them milking the
Planetos,
as far as them milking the shit out of this, I wouldn't put it past HBO.
Oh yeah, and Martin said he wants to make this as like a universe where there's multiple like stories taking place.
Oh, like a Star Wars story, like you have all these different iterations of like same world kind of situation. Yeah, I mean it would be interesting, but then again, I don't want anybody else touching. Like I don't want other people other than Martin touching this because he's such a fucking artist.
Yeah.
When it comes to all of that, so when other people kind of, I mean, you got to know your shit. You kind of have to be on that same level that he is. If you're coming in and writing your own story and doing your own thing. Star Wars is a different monster, because you have like people like Taika Waititi and Favreau and Filoni coming in. They can create, some decent stuff in that Lucas-made world, and they, from what we've seen, some people have been really, really good at it. But when it comes to Martin, I don't know, man. I don't know.
So it says right here that Martin made a blog post and he says, I am involved just as I am with the Hedge Knight and the Sea Snake and 10,000 Ships, as well as the animated shows. So I think he let it slip there that there's a lot of shit in the pipeline.
Well, fuck yeah.
Which is smart for HBO, because it's apparently like Game of Thrones is like, despite all the backlash it got, it's still one of like the top like 5 streamed shows year after year.
It's great.
Yeah.
It's a great intellectual property.
So
it's
HBO
fucking
is still
fantastic.
making a lot of money on the series, and they're getting a lot of their viewers from that. So why
yeah,
not?
man.
And I think House of the Dragon is proof that this universe and has so much potential. It's like, because look, me fans like sign that petition to like remake season 8.
I know. I remember this.
Like they wanted content, so it's like, well, we can't do that. Let's give them content.
You had, and you know what I attribute to their success. This is what it was, and this was amazing to me. This is the first time I've ever seen anything like this, where it transcended the typical genre nerds. Meaning this, you have your fantasy nerds, you have your diehard George Martin fans that were into the books, and then they were into the fucking series. But then where they really got successful was when casual people that had no connection to the fantasy world or anything like that, when they started watching the fucking show, when they tuned in to HBO, and it was to them a soap opera, just a drama that just happened to have magic and dragons in it. That's when they transcended. That's when it became a big fucking deal. When you caught like the casual viewer, on top of the big nerds.
It really brought in like that disappearing TV audience that we were seeing. Like,
yeah, man, and they became,
it became like the MASH of the generation.
They became just as like they became just as hardcore fans, just as much as the nerds that were reading the books. Like, for instance, when you showed me the video of that bar, right?
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure in that bar you had people that were casual viewers that really don't connect to like the fantasy world, Lord of the Rings or anything like that, or anything, but they like this show.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure they were sitting right next to diehard fans that have read all the Martin books and know all the fucking backstories and all the details and all that shit. The mesh of those two worlds is what that's where that success lies. You know, so yeah, man, they did a fucking great job at that. So yeah, man, hats off.
Sick.
That's all I gotta say about that. And that's all I gotta say about that. What was that?
I said, Viet fucking damn.
Good one. Yeah, there we go.
I actually just watched it the other day.
Did you?
Yeah. Still holds up.
Look at that. It does.
Go.
Listen, what Robert Zemeckis movie doesn't hold up?
Man.
He's pretty fucking good, man.
Yeah.
You know, and some arguments I'd say he's better than Spielberg, but I'm not gonna go there. It's another conversation.
That's a different podcast.
But Zemeckis was.
Maybe we'll do an overrated directors podcast.
Maybe we should. There's a lot of those. Maybe we should. All right. What else? What else we want to talk about? Oh, we had a segment for like scary movies.
Yeah, we're gonna do some Halloween shit.
We're gonna do some Halloween stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So
before we wrap up.
Okay, cool. Oh no! Before we wrap it up,
well, we're not wrapping up.
No, not yet. But there's two things that I wanted to remind you that I haven't seen yet. All right. So one is Andor. I haven't caught up.
Okay.
I haven't seen anything since the heist.
Okay, I didn't see today's episode, but I'm besides that, I'm all caught up.
Okay, all right.
I have to watch today's episode still.
And talk about Tales of the Jedi.
Tales of the Jedi.
Yeah.
I found out today. I heard about it. I knew it was coming out. I thought it was going to be like a drop them all once type series, but it's a weekly release.
Okay.
And I guess it's been I slept on it. It's been out since like September.
Yeah.
So I had a bunch of catching up to do, but they're shorts. I think they're like 15 minutes long, 18 minutes. But they give you glimpses into scenarios and stories that happened well out of the timeline of the movies that we were familiar with.
Yeah.
So a lot of in between, a lot of stuff that's before, like we get some stuff before Phantom Menace with Dooku and Qui-Gon.
Mm-hmm.
A few episodes are like very like focused on Dooku's fall from grace and his turn to the dark side. And
okay, that's interesting.
Yeah, it's very like
Dooku's it's a very important
it's very
character.
tragic actually. It's not like a tragic in an Anakin sense, but it's a tragic in like a corruption of morals. Someone who's like wants to do very good and like ends up doing very bad.
Here we go. Same pattern, man.
Same pattern, yeah.
Yeah.
But you can see where he's like it's like something's wrong here. He's like, this isn't right. This isn't the right path.
Yeah.
And he's like, this needs to change. And he keeps seeing things that are fucking fucked up that he's like fed up with. He's like, this is bullshit.
Right.
So he goes off and spoilers, we get to see him delete Camino from the archives of
Yeah.
Remember like like when Obi-Wan goes to find the planet and she's like, well, it doesn't exist. And
right. Yeah.
Well, it should fucking exist, crazy old lady.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like, so it's not in the records.
We see that happen. He goes in there and deletes it and shit. And then we see like years of iterations between him. We see him when he's younger and he still has like black hair then we see like when he has like half gray and all that. We
Oh,
see
okay.
like
A little
his,
progression.
like he still has his blue lightsaber and shit, and he's not Count Dooku, he's just Master Dooku,
Right.
and whatnot.
Okay.
And we see a little bit of Mace Windu before he was a Jedi Council Master.
No shit.
Yeah.
Ooh, that's cool.
Yeah, a little bit of that. We see Yaddle.
Wait a minute.
Yeah.
That's the female.
Yeah, we actually get to see why she's no longer in the films.
Yeah, because she fucking disappeared.
Yeah, well,
Okay.
something happens to her.
There's something happens. Oh man, I have to see this. Yeah.
That's really good. Yeah.
I always called her Yoda's girlfriend. Yaddle and
We
Yoda.
see
Yodeling.
Ahsoka. We see
Yodely.
Ahsoka being born, and we get her
No shit. Okay.
intro as when her village finds out that she's basically a Jedi.
Yeah.
We get that intro when she's like an infant.
Okay.
And then we get some more Ahsoka stuff.
Baby
like,
Ahsoka.
we get some like Ahsoka training in the Jedi Temple. We get Anakin moments. We get stuff like that. There's a few more episodes that are coming out. I think there's like 3 or 4, maybe 5.
Yeah.
But I think we're mostly through the season. But yeah, it's a lot of content. Like there is at least an hour or so shit to watch.
No shit.
Yeah.
Let me see here. Yeah, Filoni's behind us, of course. Same type of animation. This looks really good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I need to jump on this, man. I need to jump on this.
So there's some Dooku there, and then
Baby
Ahsoka.
Baby Ahsoka. Okay. Aw. Oh, Grandma Ahsoka. Okay. Oh, yeah, this is awesome. Yeah. Ah, there she goes. All right. Yeah, flashbacks. Yeah, Bad Batch. That was another good one.
Yeah, Bad Batch season 2 should be out soon.
Yeah.
But I think the coolest thing was seeing Dooku and Qui-Gon's interactions, and then we get a little bit of a morning scene.
Yeah.
Where Dooku, he's at this tree there's a tree on the Jedi Temple.
Mm-hmm.
On Coruscant, where there's no fucking greenery ever anywhere.
Right.
So there's one tree is like, and we learned that. Well, maybe this is like established, but I didn't know. But Qui-Gon was born on Coruscant.
Mm-hmm.
So he never knew anything like nature and shit. So he was fascinated by this tree, and so Dooku goes to that tree, and that's where he's like mourning, in a sense, of Qui-Gon's death to Maul, who he knew what Maul was at that point. He was already in cahoots with Palpatine and all them at that moment.
Yeah.
But he was still like kind of mourning Qui-Gon because he was like he wasn't supposed to die. He's like you went too far. He's like all that stuff. So he was mourning.
No shit.
But he went to that tree because he was like I used to take Qui-Gon here as a young child all the time because he was fascinated by this tree. So he has like this little bit of
that's interesting.
like a last little moment to his like goodness before he kind of like falls.
No kidding. Yeah. That's cool. That's pretty cool,
like,
man.
He was in cahoots, but he's like you weren't supposed to kill my apprentice. He's like, you guys killed my last connection to like the good side
to the light side. Yeah. Well, I mean that's what the dark side does.
He basically becomes because at that point they think Maul's dead, so he becomes a new apprentice at that point.
Yeah.
So before that, he's kind of like an associate, whereas Maul's the second.
Right.
And Dooku's kind of an associate.
The rule of 2.
Dooku's like an associate that's kind of like in between zone where he's still Jedi.
He's not really a Sith.
Yeah, he's still
a dark Jedi.
Yeah, but he's trying to do what he thinks is right to uncorrupt the Senate and because they deal with a lot of that in these episodes is the corruption of that is rampant there because there was corruption in the Senate. There's rampant corruption going on, so they deal with that and how the Jedi are supposed to be like servants of the Senate. And all that.
Yeah.
So they go through that whole morality, and so that kind of is what sets Dooku down this path.
Fucking Filoni, man.
Yeah.
I love Filoni. It's great. It's great. I want to see
that.
Yeah. Wait a minute. What's this? Who's this guy?
That's a random Inquisitor that Ahsoka cuts down with his own lightsaber.
Interesting. For a second, he looks like
he's like, "Oh, Ahsoka, you're still alive." He's like, "Oh, I'm gonna get rewarded for this," and she's like, "Oh yeah, okay." Boom, Force lightsaber, you're dead.
No shit.
And she kills him in like one hit.
All right, is he an actual Sith? Or?
He's an Inquisitor.
He's an Inquisitor. Okay, yeah, he's not really a Sith.
I think he's it's his actual his tag is his 6th brother.
Okay, gotcha. He looked like Riven. He looked like Darth Revan.
This is the village that Ahsoka first goes to after Order 66 to blend in with like shit. So she's living in that village, and then she gets found out.
Wait a minute. So, all right. So they do some serious time jumping here.
Yeah,
then,
in
right?
one of the Ahsoka episodes, there's a lot of time jumping.
Okay.
The one with the infant,
Because they show her as an
the,
infant, and then
the one in the infant, that's all one episode. But the one later when she's doing like training and shit,
yeah.
that's there's a lot of time jumping. And the one with the when she's older on that village.
This is very
its own
interesting. So
episode.
this is cool. I like
Yeah.
how they're doing this.
And I'm not sure if it's all going to be Ahsoka. I think it would make sense to do some other shit too. But
well, it seems like they got all kinds of characters here.
Well,
man.
so
they
far
got
it's mostly-
Anakin. They got
yeah, but they're like
Mace
they're
Windu.
supporting cast. They show up.
Right.
They just like, oh hey, I'm here, and then they kind of like fuck
So
off.
for every episode, how many episodes do they have roughly now? Like maybe
It's
six,
like six
episodes. So every episode has a main character that they're talking about, right?
Yeah, but for the most part, it's just been Dooku and Ahsoka.
Okay, no, that's cool.
Yeah,
I'm fine with
so there's
that.
a few Dooku episodes, there's a few Ahsoka episodes so far.
Yeah.
So,
Oh, there he is, Dooku.
but you get supporting cast, like you see Windu there.
Yeah.
Mace Windu's there, and then
Okay.
he's like you see like he's already kind of. Yeah.
I mean, it'd be great if they did a Mace Windu
So I think
backstory.
that one just came out. So we see.
Yeah, Coruscant. Oh, there's Kenobi. I want to see a. Mace
We get some
Windu
cool like
thing.
we get some cool insight to the Jedi Temple too, and like how the operatings of that, like where like the training rooms and seeing all like even just like common rooms, like you see like people just chilling in a cafe that exists in like the temple because they're just chilling.
Yeah.
You know, like obviously it makes sense to have places to go eat and hang out. So like it's like
a college.
Yeah, but basically it's like damn, all these people are gonna
Jedi
fucking
Academy.
die violently pretty
Yeah.
soon.
Yeah. That's crazy.
Everyone here is gonna be dead in like 10 years.
This is cool because it gives you a little bit more depth into that Jedi world.
Yeah. It's and it's watchable because they're not too short, they're not too long.
Now I'm gonna
So-
right. They're about what 15 minutes,
15, 20 minutes
Right,
between
okay.
that. Yeah.
Okay, that's not bad. That's pretty solid, man.
Yeah.
I like that.
You got
Now
some French subtitles there.
now I'm gonna throw. Yeah, that's right. Nice. All right, you learned a little something. Okay. So how about this? If they're doing Tales of the Jedi, do you think they're gonna do Tales of the Sith?
Nah, I would suggest that'd be logical. to
Right.
go. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because like you need that.
Because they also
yeah.
need balance.
Yeah.
So, but no, you the some of the Sith stories are actually pretty interesting too.
Yeah.
Like for the novice, the people that don't know, like the rule of two,
Yeah.
with Darth Bane and all that history and all that
Well,
shit.
I think also the interesting thing is the idea that the Jedi are basically just the other side of the Sith, where they're just as bad in
Two sides of the
in
coin.
terms of their methodology and their ideology. It's
Right.
like they're extremists in their own right. And
Right.
they're-
There's two. Yeah.
And
they're
you get
both on
and you
either
get that
ends.
too, like in this episode, they're investigating a death of a Jedi who was attached to a senator.
Mhm.
And there was basically like a thing gone wrong by the opposition who was trying to like control this senator to enact their own agenda because there's all this corruption going on in the Senate, and they're saying like the Jedi, like they're like, oh yeah, but we represent peace and we're trying to like get to make sure everything's good for everybody, and like yeah, well the Jedi say that, but really what they do is they serve the rich and powerful for the Senate and make sure that their laws are upheld. But when it comes down to the common people, they don't do anything.
Message.
Yeah.
No, but honestly, is that not a social commentary about right now?
Yeah.
Honestly, that's what Star Wars is. That's how I
It's how it's always
understood
was.
that.
It was always
It's
social
always it
commentary.
was always commentary.
We were like, oh, well, get politics out of Star Wars. It's like it was always there.
it was
there.
always
Yeah.
underneath. It was very well
But that's
disguised.
when Dooku's like, oh shit, it makes sense. It's like we do only really serve the rich and powerful. We only really do, what their money bids and shit.
Yeah, pretty much. They have their own agendas. So who are you really, morality, for morality's sake, who are you really representing?
Yeah.
Like who are you really protecting?
You say and you believe you're doing good, but actually what good are you really doing?
Right.
Yeah.
At the
What,
end of
what
the
harm
day.
are you actually causing?
You're right.
'Cause You're
Exactly.
protecting people that are taking advantage of,
What I like about it is that it's
Oh.
this is actually showing.
Yeah.
This is actually getting kids or kids younger than us. This is actually getting them to think about these kind of
Politics,
complex
yeah.
these complex
Yeah.
concepts.
Well, there's another thing that's like super obvious too is because these people are like, well, our senators don't represent us because they're over there taking advantage of our people while they're sitting in their lofts and on Coruscant far away, which is literally a metaphor for like congressmen and women
That's
like
right.
being in Washington, not even taken care of.
Super far
And it's
from
like
where they are.
it's like, oh, your district got elected. You're elected in your district, but then you just go off and you fuck
You're
off to
off all the
Washington.
way
Yeah,
over
you're doing
there.
nothing.
You're barely over
And you're
here.
doing nothing for the people.
Right,
So
right.
it's super like obvious metaphor for that.
Super big message,
Yeah.
man. But this is a great way to introduce those type of politics to a younger audience for them to understand.
Yeah, and it's an
You know?
organic way too, because they're not going, this is politics. They're going, this is just stories.
These are stories.
Yeah.
Right. But they have a message.
But when then later on in life, they're like, oh,
Oh, of course, I get it. And they understand the concept behind it. Because when they see it in real life, they can kind of, put two and two together. And that's what I love it. I love it. That's great.
yeah, it's a lot of good shit with Star Wars.
Hats off.
Got to finish Andor, but I heard this episode was it was a downer episode.
Was it?
Yeah,
I mean,
'cause he at this point is, I think he got captured in the last episode, so
Okay.
he's, at the mercy of the Empire. So he's
Yeah.
gonna go into some.
I mean, there's a warrant out for his
Here's
arrest.
The thing too with this is very realistic, I think.
Yeah.
In terms of the grayness and the
Well, walking into Andor, you have to realize that there aren't going to be any happy endings. There's always going to be some shit that's going to get fucked up. and yeah, there's not going to be like happy-go-lucky kind of endings. It's going to be somber. I know that just off the bat.
But yeah, Andor looks good, and I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah.
There's I think it's 12 episodes this season. It's one of the
12?
longer series.
Okay.
'Cause the other ones are like 6 or 8 or 10 episodes.
Yeah, and that's what I thought.
Andor's got 12.
Okay.
So
Yeah, and that's what I thought.
and I think they're automatically
original.
going for 2 seasons. So they didn't even wait for a renewal. They're doing 2 seasons off the bat.
I'm
so.
okay. I'm all right with that. I'm totally okay with that. Episodes. Oh, what is that? Did I read that right? Did that say 24?
Oh, is there 24? So those 2 seasons. 2
Two
seasons. Of 12.
seasons. That's why.
But I
Okay,
think they're
so
doing
12.
it back to back. Yeah.
So okay, so
We'll-
24 episodes in
We'll probably
total.
get Andor season 2 next year.
Right.
Yeah.
12 episodes per season.
Yeah.
Okay. Got it. And right now we are on episode 8.
Yeah. So
there's 4 more.
Yeah.
That's not bad. That's decent.
So this will end right around Thanksgiving.
Yeah. Let's see. 12. Yeah. 23rd.
Yeah.
November 23rd.
Probably that day before, actually, I think.
Yeah, man.
Let's
All right. So we got some more Cassian
yeah.
for us.
And
Cool.
then now we get into some Halloween stuff. I'm just
All
going
right.
to talk about Shaun of the Dead, but I don't know if you have anything.
My favorite. Are we talking about our favorite?
You can tell
Halloween
my
movie?
favorite. I just watched Shaun of the Dead earlier because I haven't.
You
seen
watched
it in a
Shaun of the
while.
Dead.
It's also one of my favorite movies of all time. But
Yeah.
You got Red on You.
It's a good indie. It's a great indie, to be honest. I think it's a great indie scary comedy.
Oh yeah, it's fucking great, dude.
That's solid. That's actually pretty solid. And I love those guys, man. That was the first time that I saw Simon Pegg, and then I was addicted. After that, I was like, these guys have something going. I want to see more of them.
Yeah, it's the Cornetto trilogy is what it's called. So
Yeah.
it's Hot Fuzz, Shaun of the Dead, Hot Fuzz, and then
World's
World's
End?
End.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's right. Yeah, World's End. I actually went to that bar when I was in London.
oh really?
Yeah.
Nice.
I looked it up. I was like, oh shit, this thing exists. And then I went there. It's actually a pretty decent bar.
Sick.
It's huge.
Nice.
Yeah, it's not bad.
But what were we gonna say? What your favorite one is?
So I was really into horror films and scary movies for a very long time when I was growing up. But my favorite, as far as as far as horror that kind of just like gets at me at the pit of my stomach still to this day, is The Thing. The original Thing that came out with Kurt Russell back in like 77 or 78.
Yes, something like that.
And they did a remake. The remake is shit, but
that's Lovecraftian.
that's super Lovecraftian, man. And it's a little Stephen King-ish,
Yeah.
somewhat. But yeah, man, I really loved that movie. I mean, I saw a lot of horror movies. I mean, I was into Hellraiser when I was fucking like 10, 12 years old. I had no business watching that fucking film, dude. Like that was like way good. But me being the fuck,
Yeah.
I was a cinephile. Like I would watch whatever the fuck it was. I'd just be glued to the TV, like, whoa, it's crazy. I was watching shit I had no business watching. Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the original shit. Like I saw a ton of shit that is just like,
Yeah.
man, um, made no sense. I was too young for all of that. But yeah, man, the thing. I watch it. Whenever I have a feel, like you got a craving for like a horror film or something like that, I would always pop it on, and it's still it does the same effect. Like it's rare. Like it's a real weird thing that because I've seen it so many times, but it still has like that cringy, like oh that's disgusting kind of a effect on me. Yeah, man, and that and the Nightmare Before Christmas.
Well, you know what? That should have been a fucking obvious one. To me. I was thinking
that was up there for me, man.
I was like thinking about this topic because it was Rhea actually. I don't know if you're watching or maybe you're.
Hey, Rhea.
I don't know. Last time we were doing this, she was like, "Oh, we'll talk about like Halloween or whatever."
Yeah.
So, and I was like trying to figure out like movies that would make sense, and I'm like, "Fuck, this is like a genre that I kind of ignored."
Yeah.
Like it's just like
it
exists, and like it's one of those like gimmick genres that comes around every year. I'm like, oh yeah, Halloween. That ain't fucking real movies.
Yeah.
Like, like yeah, Paranormal Activity, man. Like whatever. I started thinking about like what movies would make sense, and like what, there's actually a lot of shit out there that I haven't seen and like that I need to go like check out.
Yeah.
But yeah, like Nightmare Before Christmas, and I watched Army of Darkness earlier as well.
Army of fucking Darkness, man. Yeah, I remember that.
I forgot how like I haven't seen it in like so long. Like so, it's basically I was watching it like for the first time again,
dude. Yeah,
it had been years since I've seen it, and I was like, oh, this is fucking great.
Yeah, man.
So over the top and like I gotta watch all the Evil Dead shit again.
Yeah, Yeah, oh man, yes, that was another one.
The series I haven't watched that either, like Ash versus Evil Dead.
That's right. That. Yeah. I saw some of it.
Yeah,
it was on the same vein, not exactly the same. It was more slapstick than anything else. You know, but yeah, it's kind of it's there. It's kind of there with the silliness. But yeah, man, no, Evil Dead 1 was up there as far as like, oh, that's fucking weird shit. Evil Dead 2 got a little sillier, and I appreciated that because it was kind of like being absurd with horror.
Yeah, that's where it kind of went. Like the first Evil Dead was like kind of like, okay, I see what this is.
Right.
It's not too fantastical.
Right.
It's over the top, but it's a zombie fucking movie, right?
Right.
So it's zombies, of course, it's gonna be over the top.
Right.
But like when you get like once you get to Army of Darkness, it's like time travel and like King Arthur.
They threw and it was just like holy shit, but it worked.
Yeah. It's like that Cheech and Chong movie where they go back in time. Remember that one?
Yeah.
No, the Korsky brothers. That's what the one is. Yeah.
It got silly. They upped the ante in every movie. And Army of Darkness is
I
up
watched
there.
Shaun of the Dead. That was the first one I watched today, and like it's absolute classic. Holds up every time, in my opinion. Oh, we get my fucking Borno. Yeah, trying to fucking. He's like my lands.
Say hello.
My lands are endangered. Losing my trees, motherfucker.
Wanted to make himself known.
Yeah, like I've loved this movie like forever, dude. It always holds up. I like quote it like all the time.
Yeah,
like like just offhandedly, like oh, you got red on you, like
yeah, man, it's a good one. It's a classic.
Winchester, like
yeah, that's right.
It was a good movie, like during COVID. Too. Like
that's true.
Really
and I get it.
Yeah.
I get it because it kind of, same vein. It's like, oh no, we need to stay indoors.
It's so great as a parody.
We can't get infected.
Yeah. It's so great as a parody because it's like it doesn't like present itself as a parody.
Yeah.
It presents itself as its own narrative. But it's
right.
It's an obvious parody of like Dawn of the Dead and shit like that.
That's right.
Which is also a great fucking movie.
That is a good movie. That's an old school one.
Shitty effects, but a great fucking
movie. It's a shit, but I appreciate it. I know what they were going for, and especially for it, for at the time that it came out, it was kind of innovative, and I it's awesome. I think it's awesome. Yeah.
One thing I noticed that Shaun of the Dead did that I've seen like in a lot of movies too is like the mirrored team, like when they meet the other team and it's like the same fucking people.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, that was funny. Yeah, that was funny. And then they met each other and then they were like, okay, well we're off over here.
It's literally the same exact people,
all right.
Different actors. It's like...
That That was good. That was
And the
good,
whole
man.
like hop in the fence. He's like,
Yeah. See, now I want to watch that shit again.
That's great. I think it's
Yeah.
there's a lot of stuff on. I think it's on Peacock. There's a lot of stuff on there right now.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right.
that's why I watched both those movies today on Peacock.
Oh shit.
Another one that's good I just thought of is 28 Days Later.
Oh well, yeah, that changed the zombie genre.
And that was filmed very like indie type too, but it was
Oh, super low
but
budget.
it wasn't even it was used with a camcorder.
It was
Yeah.
it was camcorder
Yeah.
shot. I mean, they were trying to go for this found footage type of thing.
Yeah.
I remember it was Danny Boyle.
Mhm.
And he was on the fence on whether to use like kind of like a Blair Witch type of a thing where they were actually people behind the camera and kind of
Yeah,
talking and all that shit. But he kind of forego that. But he's kind of stuck with still shooting in camcorder. But of course, you know, it was like a disembodied camera. He didn't do like a found footage type of deal, which ended up working, man. I mean, it was fucking great. That's another classic. I remember when that came out. That was pretty fucking cool, man.
Yeah, Cillian Murphy.
Yeah, it wasn't regular zombies. Like these were different types
yeah.
of like he came up with a concept of like, well, what if zombies ran?
And it
we're
wasn't just slow, like
yeah,
it was like, hey, fucking gonna come.
like
at you,
these guys
yeah.
were running head first into you, like they were maniacs. Like that's fucking scary.
Trying to get like in World War Z and shit like that.
Yeah, and that's where you get that kind of stuff. But he opened the door. That was the first time I've seen that.
Yeah,
you know, he introduced that to the world. So yeah, man.
Like, it's like always listen to the scientists, man. Like don't fuck with the monkeys, man. Like they fucking
don't do it.
Look at them. They like they got red in their eyes. Their eyes are red. Don't fucking
just leave it alone.
Don't touch them. They're like, no, like, you're fucking full of shit. Oh, great. You just like fucked humanity up.
Yeah.
Also,
man.
like, but if I was a scientist like that, I'd be like, you know what? I'm gonna fucking kill these monkeys because, like, why are they even?
There should be a button. There should be like an incinerating button for these kind of situations. Come on, man.
It's fucking It's how we get the fucking bat viruses and shit. Fucking monkey pox.
Hey, man. Hey, dude. I wasn't. I started thinking about that when the pandemic hit. Like it started, fucking with me. Because I'm like,
watch some stuff. I watched Contagion.
Same fucking thing, man.
Yeah. That was when the pandemic was like new and everybody was like, oh my god, we're in this together, everybody. And there was like, it was a novelty of it. It's like, oh, let's all watch like shit.
Honestly, there was a show that fucked with me. Oh, my battery's dying. I need to plug in a second. But there was a show that during the pandemic that bugged the shit out of me, man.
Yeah.
And that was it was an Amazon show. It was called Utopia.
I haven't seen that.
Yeah, it was freaky because it was like all the conspiracy theories that you can think of as far as like the shit that you came up with during the pandemic. It's actually a fucking show.
Oh.
Yeah. But the way they introduced it, it was like, well, if you believe in this shit, you had this, they introduced it in multiple different perspectives, right? So there were conspiracy theories in the show, and if you believed it, you were just fucking all right, you're a fucking nutcase. But it turned out that the crazy fucking scenarios that people believed in were actually true, and that there were they did a great job of kind of playing around with that notion that the crazy people that believed in the fucking far-fetched shit, they were actually onto something, and it actually became true. So it was freaky. It was very it was strange. It was a strange ride. I recommend that.
What is it on?
It's on Amazon. It's called Utopia.
Utopia.
Right. Yeah, man. It was freaky. It was like during the height of the pandemic. It was this like 2020 that it came out. Yeah. And I saw it and I was like, holy shit. This isn't cool. And then I was like thinking to myself, I was like, I hope a lot of people don't watch this, because then everybody would just be like, oh, this fucking shit is true, man.
Like get people all fucking radicalized.
Right. I get people super paranoid. So, that was the first time I was like, yeah, I'm not going to tell this to people. Yeah. I don't want people even more paranoid.
Well, I think that's, for me, I don't know what else to talk about. Because,
I think that's about it, man.
I didn't do too much research this time.
Yeah, I think I'm just going to we should just wrap it up. Future releases?
Not
anything coming up?
No.
No, not really. No, there's nothing really.
I haven't heard any.
Nothing that we haven't
Yeah.
talked about already.
Yeah.
So I think we're fine. All right. So, all right, cool, man. I think that's episode 7.
That's it. We'll see you guys in a couple weeks or something.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Peace.
Later.
End it.